Hey everyone, it's Desiree, and I am here with day 15 of the 2019 Christmas series. And for today's project, it's going to be a card, and I'm going to feature this stamp set that I found in my stash it's by Your Next Stamp, and it's called Coffee Melt. The snowman melting is absolutely adorable, and of course we've got to save the coffee. Okay, so for today's project, I'm going to use some colored pencils, and we're going to color this little image. So let's get to the project. Okay, so just to save some time, I already did stamp my image, so I've got my sentiment up there. I've got my image here, and I used my Desiree K amalgam ink. I do really like this ink when I use my colored pencils. I have a red panel here that will be my mat for this, and then I just have my card base, which is the standard A2 size, and then I have a just piece of white cardstock. So what I want to do is I just want to cut some hills. So I'm just going to come in and bring my scissors and just make some hills there. Now I'm going to go on to the other side and kind of do the same thing, but kind of the opposite when it comes to the hills. So that when I lay this down, whichever way I want to do that, and for this I'm going to come straight across here, it can sit, back on each other. Now, what I'm looking to do is actually take this here, and actually I'm going to retrim that because I don't want it so severe. So again, not using a die, I'm just using my scissors to cut just some little hills. And now I want to come in with the next one. And actually, I think what I'll do is just do that. So I'm going to have that sit like that. And I'm just getting these positions. And what I'm looking to cover is that little piece right there. But again, I don't want to cover too much of my image, and that's okay too. So we can flip it around. So I'll come in like that. I like that one like that. And then if I flip this one, and again, this is just a scrap piece of cardstock. And there we go. That's kind of how I would want that to look. Now, to keep this straight, what I'm going to do first, I know these are my two pieces. I'm going to move that out of my way. And I'll use this. And I'm just going to use my blending brush. And I'm just going to come in and I just want to come across the top of that, just to add a little bit of color. And have that line definition, and then we'll do the same thing on this one. And just in case, we'll go across that. So you can see when I have that, I've got the two different colors going on there. All right, we'll get that out of my way. Now, what I am going to do is I'm going to set this in place. And now I want to come in with this one. because I'm not going to prop these up. I'm okay for them to stay the way they are. I'm just going to get some glue on here. I want to make sure that's straight. And then I'm going to come in with that, and I'm going to set that down just like that. So these two pieces will be adhered together. And now I can set that aside because I'll trim this once we're done. So the colored pencils that I'm going to use are my Arteza or Arteza. I say Arteza. I'm just saying. And I'm going to use Espresso, Sage, Smoke, Mykonos Blue. I'm sure I'm saying that wrong. Orange, Magenta, and some charcoal. And we're just going to color. Now you can see I only have one color. So what I want to show you here, and I'm going to zoom in for you. I am going to keep all of the coloring in. So this will be, as always, I get a little gabby. Let me put, if you've seen my previous videos, you know I like to put a piece of washi tape down onto my surface. I get that question a lot, why I do that. That tells me where to keep my card, when to keep it in frame for you guys. When I don't do that, I'm all over the place and it's just bad. So what I want to show you when it comes to colored pencils, they are my medium of choice for coloring. I do enjoy colored pencils. I'm more comfortable with them. I kind of work with these the same way that anybody would with alcohol markers, put my light color down, then I build up from that, going in with my dark, then my medium, and so forth. So I kind of use them to create my depth and so forth. But I do like to keep layering. Your key with colored pencils is don't go heavy right off the bat. Wax pencils can be either wax or oil-based, but once you fill in the tooth of the paper, whichever one you're using, you really can't add any more colors. So you just want to always use a light touch, and then when you know you're set, boom, just go in if you want it to look solid. It all depends for me on the image that I'm coloring. If I'm going to color it solid, where I just see the color, or if I'm okay seeing the tooth coming in. So a lot of gabby going on there, so I apologize. But again, I'm only going to use one color pencil, meaning I have the orange here. I don't have a light orange. I don't have a dark orange. I just have this one color. And what I want to show you is you don't need to get those huge sets. Getting some of the smaller sets of your favorite or colored pencils that you want to try, you can get all the color spectrum that you need to create your depth and your shadows and so forth. So that's what I'm kind of showing you here today. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the nose, and I like to use small circles to fill in my image, and you can see I'm far away from the tip of the pencil. When you're the farther away from it are, the less likely you're going to add pressure. So by being far away, you can see I have color down, but it's not dark. Now I'm going to get a little closer to that tip. I'm going to add a little bit more pressure, and you can see I'm getting more color, and then I get lighter and lighter as I come out. That would be how I can get my shading from one color. Now, if I bring this up, you can see I have that shading, but just by using the one pencil. So now I'm going to come in, and I'm going to come in with espresso because I want to fill in, my little coffee. So this, I'm not worried too much about shadow because, again, it's coffee. But if I wanted to, I just come in a little darker down in the corner here, and then I get lighter as I come up. So I have a little bit of shading for this as well. And then for this little drop, we'll just come right in and fill that in there. I'm going to use my orange again to fill in that little nose because of course it's a little snowman. And then I'm going to come in with my Konos, I think that's what it's called, blue, and I want to use that for my mug. So I'm going to come in, and again, just a light shading at first. I use small circles. I'm going to go around that orange, and then I'm going to fill in that image. Now to come in, I'm also going to do the handle first. And then now to come in, I'm just going to come in with a little bit more pressure, and that's how I add my shading to this. I'm going to add again a little bit more pressure to the side and to the bottom. I'm envisioning my light source is coming in this way. I usually forget, but it's usually the same way when I'm thinking of my light source. I really don't change it. But it's also, I'll have to admit, it's not something that I'm always thinking about. I hate to say that, but I usually forget, to be very honest with you. Just saying. All right, now for my snowman himself, I'm just going to add a little bit of this light blue. I don't know what color it is. I had to put a pencil extender on because it's literally this big. This poor pencil went through a traveling experience where I dropped it, I stepped on it, it cracked. Oh, it was horrible. So, poor little guy. And I'm just going to add some of this blue very lightly in the shaded areas, because let's face it, snowman's snow, it's white. I don't have to color him in all the way. So now I'm going to add a little bit more in here, and I'm actually following the curve of the image that's stamped. So I'm pulling it in just a little bit to add some more shading. And then I'll come in along the bottom. And then I'll get lighter as I come in as well. And then I'm just going to add a little bit of a line underneath his scarf to show that shadow as well. And I'm actually basically going to outline that. And then the same thing. So I'll come in here, you know, kind of creating that outline, but I want to have a little bit more shadow here because of his nose and the way that he's coming down. And then I'll add some shadow underneath his hat as well. So even though, and again, this is the way that I look at it, even though my light source is coming in this way, you still want to put some shadows on this side as well, just to make it look, you know, a little bit round, so to speak. And then I'm just going to add a little bit more on this side. So now our snowman is covered. And just to get rid of some of the harsh lines, if you have them, just go very lightly and move that around. So you can see we've got our color on our snowman. So now I'm going to come in and I'm going to use the charcoal. I'm just going to color those in. Not worried about shading these. These are coal. And now I'm going to come in and do the hat. So I'm going to come in with my light shade again. I know I keep saying that. And now I'm going to go across the brim. Again, using, I may get, as you can see, I'm getting a little bit bigger, but I'm always moving in a circular motion. Now I'm going to come in. And you can see I'm going to use lines now. I'm going to go back and forth to get like a striation. Going to go around that. And then the same thing. I'm going to take it. I know I'm going to be darkest there. And then I'm actually going to kind of flick this across to get those lines. And then I'm just going to lightly go back and forth in that section so that I have that highlight area. And then the same thing. Lay down my color. I guess for me, by laying down the color the way that I am, that kind of helps me to say, okay, this is how far I want to come in with my shadow. So here I'm just flicking in onto the sides. I'm using a lot of pressure when I'm over here on that edge. And then I'm letting, by flicking that, I'm getting lighter as I'm picking up my pencil. I do keep turning my pencil sometimes so that I can continue to get that sharp edge that's going on. And now I'll go back and do this side. And now I'll just come in, make a small circle so that I can blend those two sides together. And then I'll come in and fill that in as well. So you can see I have that shading. Okay. And I'm going to do the same technique I'm actually going to use this light blue for this snowflake, and I'm just going to color that in because it is so tiny. Shading would, yeah, no. You know, I may get lucky. Some areas may be darker. Some areas may be lighter. You never know. I'm going to come in with my sage now because I want this band to be green. And I'm going to do the same thing. Now I'm going to go into this band, which is right there. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to come across. And I like the sage because it's got a gray tint to it. And I'm going to fill that in. I'm going to come in darker on my edges. And then you can see that highlight line is still continuing in the same area. It's not perfect. It doesn't have to be. Okay? So then I'm going to do the same thing when it comes to the scarf. And for this, I'm just going, since it's so small, I'm going to start out with my darkest, do a little bit of flicking to pull it in, and then come in with a small circular motion to create that highlight. It's the same thing. And again, it all depends on, the size of the piece, whether I lay the color down completely or just do this flicking motion to get those areas. Now again, some areas are just so small, you're not going to get that highlight. So like this one back here, I want that one just to be dark because it's kind of tucked in back there. So here again, I'm going to flick on the sides and I'm going to pull that in. And then the same thing on this one. And if I'm shaking my camera because I'm tapping so hard, I apologize. Same thing. Just going to pull it in and then lightly come across. And then the last one. And by coming across, you're actually blending those colors together. Okay? So now I'm just going to fill in with my magenta. And I'm going to use a very light hand with this. I don't want the full color of the magenta because it is such a strong color. So I want to keep it very light. So a little bit of flicking that's going to come in. And then I'm just going to draw a line. So I'll draw my line and then I'll do a little bit of flicking off of that. And then some light circles just to blend that through. And then the same thing. Now I'm going to have a dark area here. And then again, just creating circles to bring that in. And pulling that in. So again, just using one colored pencil, one shade of that pencil, you can get the different color variations from it. You don't need, one of those full sets. Just getting one of their basics like the 24 or 36, you will have plenty of colors. And even when you get the 24 or 36, they do have those multiple colors so that you can have a light, a dark, and so forth. Okay, so again, that's what we've got. So very simple, using only a few colors. Now I'm going to zoom back out for you. Hello. And I'll have one of those color cards done so that you know which colors I do have. Now for these, the set that I pulled from is the Arteza 72 count set. It's in the tin, and again, it'll be linked down below. If you want to read more about that. All right, so our card is pretty much set up. So now what I want to do, I want to take our snowbank that we made, and I just want to set that in place. So what I'm going to do, now I could prop that up. I don't want to prop it up. Nope. No. So I'm going to take my glue. And of course, I didn't put the pin back into it. That's why it clogged up. As long as I keep my pin in this, I'm good. Okay. Wow. Really? Please don't. Oh, thank God. Okay, hold on. A little cleanup here. There is always something that I drop. Just going to put a little bit of glue. Not quite sure how far this is going to come out, so I'm just going to make sure that I have glue going everywhere. Just going to turn that to the side. And I'm going to set that down right there. All right, oh, I can remove my little washi tape here. So I'm just going to pull some of the glue off, wipe it away. And then I'm going to come in with my long shears, and I'm going to trim around the card base that we just colored on. I'm using that as my guide to cut my hillside. And there we go. Remove my little scraps here because now I got glue all over the place. Let me make sure. There we go. So that is our little card. I'm going to take this and I'm going to put it on my red panel. I do like to have a frame. Oh, I love to have a frame. So I'm just going to set that down there. Make sure it's as straight as possible, but hey, you know, stuff happens. I'm going to set this down. Again, using my liquid glue. Again, standard A2 size card base, which is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And it is a top folding card base. So this is great if you just want to send a note to somebody who's a friend and who loves coffee. This would be perfect. We're in the season. Hopefully you're not getting too much snow. Me, I'm holding my breath. Okay. But I do hope you enjoyed this project. Again, this is day 15 of the 2019 Christmas series. I do hope that you are enjoying it. And if you've made it this far, yay, thank you. We're over that hump now, even though we got there when it came to like day 13. And we are still continuing. So as always, the products that I used will be listed down below in the video description. Just make sure you expand that so that you can see them. Again, if you just want to see and read what they're about and so forth. If you have any questions or comments, make sure you leave those down below and I will make sure I get back to you as soon as I can. If you haven't already, I'd love for you to subscribe, so make sure you hit the subscribe button. I'll have it somewhere on this screen, hopefully. If not, have the link down there or hit the button. Remember, hit the bell as well, because then you'll know when the next video is ready for you to watch, and hit the thumbs up. I hope everyone is still having a great day and you're enjoying getting ready for the holiday season. But remember what's most important. Always be creative. Till next time. Bye.